Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the New York Injury Law Show. I'm Scott Peterson from DeRazio Peterson LLP. The purpose of this show is to provide you with information and answer your common questions about personal injury, medical malpractice cases in New York, and to hopefully make this complicated and confusing process a little bit easier for you. Today we're talking about the difference between orthopedic cases and podiatry cases in the world of malpractice lawsuits. Now, there's often some confusion about whether podiatrists, or doctors who handle foot and ankles specifically, are the same thing as orthopedic surgeons, and whether those cases are the same. So let's look at the field of podiatry. Podiatrists have a somewhat different degree than medical doctors. They have a doctor of podiatric medicine. They often undergo 4 years of graduate level education, followed by a residency in the field of podiatry, focusing on the foot and the ankle. That's somewhat similar to the education and training that orthopedic surgeons receive. The orthopedic surgeon residency and fellowship program is occasionally a bit longer, but in the end, the two are not all that different. The practice, however, is significantly different, generally speaking. Whereas orthopedic surgeons these days are mostly lumped together in large practice groups, often consisting of 10 to 30, 40, or 50 orthopedic surgeons, each of whom specializes in a particular field of orthopedic surgery. Podiatrists are often still operating in small individual practices. We are a small firm, so we appreciate the benefits that come along with having a small practice. Individualized client attention, receptiveness, ability to really get to know your clients or your patients. That being said, one of the things that we see in the field of podiatry that becomes an issue is poor record keeping. And when we look at a potential podiatric malpractice lawsuit, one of the things we need to do is gather the records of the podiatrists in order to determine whether the podiatrist met the applicable standards of care in treating the patient. In other words, was the surgery that the podiatrist performed necessary? Did the podiatrist perform that surgery appropriately? If not, did that problem or that error in the surgery cause the problems that the individual is suffering? So let's say that a podiatrist performs a bunionectomy. Was that bunionectomy necessary? Did the podiatrist take off adequate amounts of bone or too much bone? If the podiatrist took off too much bone, how is that affecting the ability of the individual to walk? Okay, it's similar in cases of a fusion. Was the fusion necessary? It's the most aggressive form of treatment. Were there other conservative options? All of this information is typically garnered or learned through an investigation and review of the records and the films that the podiatrist would have taken. Now, whereas in a big orthopedic practice, records are typically pretty well kept, pretty consistent, and relatively easy to come by, often in podiatric cases they are less so. We've had many cases where we've tried to get records from podiatric surgeons and podiatrists where they're simply unresponsive, or the records are haphazardly kept, or the films are difficult to come by or don't exist. And this creates a big problem because it makes it difficult both for us in evaluating a potential podiatric malpractice case, but it also makes it difficult, frankly, from the patient's perspective to really know what happened. One of the other differences is that orthopedic surgeons are governed by the Office of Professional Medical Conduct in New York. That means if you have a complaint against an orthopedic surgeon, you would go to OPMC and file that complaint. Podiatrists are lumped in a different category, and complaints against them are handled by the New York State Department of Education, which has an Office of the Professions, and that covers podiatrists, chiropractors, dentists, those sorts of things. So the fields are somewhat similar, but again, they are also somewhat different. Many podiatrists like to perform surgery. It's often a big part of their practice. However, we have also seen many cases of apparent podiatric malpractice in performance of surgeries, whether the surgery was unnecessary or whether the surgery was not properly performed. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you have questions about an orthopedic malpractice case or a podiatric malpractice case, if you've had problems with either, they can be life-changing. And that's what we do. We're happy to take a look at your case and talk to you about it. Feel free to reach out to us today. Thank you.